Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to remodel this entire phone, but I'm going to do so in a very low poly version. This will be in preparation for another video, in which case we are going to bake this high poly information onto the lower poly version. So I'm just going to go ahead and start off with a cylinder, kind of get right here. I'm always going to make an 8-sided cylinder for everything I do. So with this first one selected, just going to change this subdivision to 8. And let's start off with the body right here. And I think I'll jump to this front camera really quick. I'm lining up with the base of this cylinder, kind of like so. And then from here, I can start matching the shape. So bring this down. And like I said, I'm going pretty low poly, so I'm going for the overall shape of everything. So maybe something like that. I'm going to extrude this upwards and then just keep on continuing this shape. So I'm just hitting G and I'm duplicating my extrusion over and over. So something like that. Maybe I'll lower this just a tiny bit and I'll go into X-ray mode, just kind of see what's happening. So if you look at the shape, it's just sort of hugging the overall shape of it. I am going to get rid of these bottom faces right down there because we're not going to see them at all. And I think I'll just continue on going. I could make this an entire sphere, or I can just kind of come up as a cylinder. It's really up to you on how much detail you're kind of going for. I think I'll leave it like that. And I won't actually need those faces either, so I'm going to go ahead and delete them. I'm going to add a cube, kind of like so, and scale this up. I think that'll look pretty good. Make another cylinder, make sure it's set to 8, and I'm going to go ahead and do the handle. Just kind of scale that, trying to just encompass the overall width of it. Maybe just like that. And what I'm going to do is I selected both ends like so, and I'm just going to quickly start extruding this outwards. Since I have both edges selected, it's going to allow me to do both sides at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and turn on X-ray mode so I can see what's happening. Actually went a little too far. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to delete the face on that side, but on this one, I'm going to have come a little bit farther, just because on this side, the cylinder does stick out more so. And I think I'll leave it like that. I'm not even going to add any extra detail. Go ahead and make another cylinder and just keep on continuing this process. Make this 8-sided, and I can snap to this geo just so that I know it is perfect. And come to the front side just so I can grab this a little bit quicker. And again, I'm just hitting G to keep repeating this command over and over again to extrude. I'll lower that just a tiny bit. There we go. There's that entire side. Make another cylinder. Okay, just going to go ahead and grab these faces, kind of like so, and just repeat this process. Gonna come look at this side view really quick. I think what I want to do is add one more edge loop right over here, just so I can make this a little bit wider. I am making this low poly, but I don't want to go too low. And you can kind of see what this looks like. I think that'll probably work. Maybe I'll bring this up a little bit and then extrude just so I can get this shape. And just keep extruding. I'm going to go ahead and do the very end first. So I'm going to come out here, kind of scale this up a bit, and extrude one more time. And then I can kind of come back and insert an edge loop. And I'll just kind of manually rotate this around a bit, just to get the shape that I want. Since I do have the high poly that I'm looking at, I can move pretty quick without having to really think about what I'm doing. Maybe something like that. And then I'm just going to look at this. Looks like I actually scaled in the wrong direction at some point. So just need to bring that kind of inwards. Looks like I did the same on this edge. So I'll just go ahead and fix that. And maybe I'll make this one a little bit bigger as well and do something like that. So if I go ahead and select it, I've already got that top bit going. I'm going to go ahead and continue on down, make a cube. Just going to grab these points and just kind of line up to exactly how it's shaped. In order to keep this pretty low poly, isolate that really quick. I'm going to scale this face kind of inwards, and then I'm going to grab these two outer faces, just like so, and extrude them straight out. Scale them in to kind of flatten it, and there you go, I get that shape super fast. And now just need to kind of scale these and reposition these two faces, pull that back, and there we go. It is essentially 1-for-1. Keep going, make another cylinder. Now, something you have noticed is every time I make a cylinder, it's actually making a 20-sided cylinder. If instead you double click this button, you change the setting in here and hit create, from here on out, every time you create a cylinder, it's going to be 8-sided. So I'm going to go ahead and snap that to that center point, kind of scale this in. I'm currently matching the guard. So I'll leave that for a sec. I'm going to go ahead and match the rest of this. Kind of doing the handle next. And I'm going to go ahead and extrude this one more time, bring this up here. And do the top of the handle. There we go. I'm going to do this kind of front face, just kind of get the bolt. So just do a simple kind of extrusion, maybe kind of like that. And since this is a cylinder, I could grab this point to maybe even do that. And that'll kind of help make it that kind of roundish shape that we're kind of getting. There we go. And scale this in. I can actually use this to make the gear first, and then I'll make the guard. On this piece right here, I'm going to delete that inside face because we're never going to see it. Now that I have that gear lined up, I'm going to duplicate this one. Just going to kind of go back to what I had, where I had the initial scale of the gear. So for the guard, I only need half of this thing. And actually, what I'm going to do, just to make this a little simpler, delete everything but a single flat few faces. Because what I'm going to do is I'm grabbing those two edges, just kind of extrude downwards like so. And then I'm going to grab all of these edges right up here, extrude them forward. So this is giving me that actual shape. If I go ahead and isolate it, I have now this perfectly flat shape. And then I can just do one more extrude, which will actually give me the thickness that I want. And then the faces turn black because they're inverted. So I'm going to just come up here, need to be under modeling, and then go to mesh display reverse. All right, we have that much of the phone going for us. Keep on going down. Just making the square body just a square. I'll delete the top face because we won't see it. I'm going to use a sphere to make some of these additional shapes. And just like before, just changing everything to 8. Just keep it super low poly. Snap to my edges just so I know I'm getting it exact. Just grab these faces, extrude them down. Now I did delete the bottom face, so what I'm going to do is do one more extrusion just like so, and then I'm going to merge to center. And so the actual shape is pretty much just like a half circle. Just going to leave it like that. Duplicate it over, just like so. Going to go ahead and do the dial, and I can snap it to the front. And just kind of scale it. I'll go to the side camera so I can better see what I'm doing. And I need to change my axis to object just so I can get my arrow, my manipulator going in the direction that I want. There we go. To keep following my shape, and change this back to world. And I can extrude this in. Just like that. And if I want, I can push in these edges just a little bit, almost giving like a little roundness to the front of that. I'm going to go ahead and do these little screws. So again, just 8-sided cylinder. In this case, I'm just going to leave it as a cylinder, not even do anything else to it. You just need to scale it appropriately. I'm going to delete the faces on the backside. And just like that. Now I can duplicate it. All right, and then if I have a look at this model, almost done. Now I do have my original curves. Highlight them right here. So I'm going to reuse these curves that I used the first time for the high poly to remake the low. So starting off with this one right here, it's going to come up here to create sweep mesh, and just need to kind of get pretty close. There we go. And just like that, that part's already done. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do the leg curve next. So the leg curve is just this little bit right here. I come up here to create and sweep mesh. I turn on wireframe just so I can kind of see it a little bit better, and change this to rectangle. I don't actually need any bevels along the edge, so I can make that smaller. And then I can just play with the width and height to kind of get the shape that I want. I think I do need to increase this precision a little bit, and I'll turn on optimize. And the last bit, I'm looking for rotate profile, so I just need to kind of rotate this in the proper orientation. And maybe I'll make this a little bit wider, something like that. I think looks pretty good. So from here, I have this leg. So now I just need to mirror this to get the rest of it. So I'm going to come up here to mesh mirror. And the first one I'm going to mirror is in Z. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on combine with original just so it merges. Oops, I left it at X, which I actually still needed. So then I'll change to Z, hit apply. And just like that, I get my 4 legs. I'm going to come up here, have these curves still left, just like before. Create sweep mesh, bump up precision just a little bit. Grab the other curve, do the same exact thing. Create sweep mesh, just matching the same number I did the first time. And this one, maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay. And almost done. For the rest of this little mount, I'm just going to leave it super low poly. So creating a cylinder, I'm going to move the pivot and then kind of snap against the cube. And I'm pretty much going to leave all this detail as just kind of like a cylinder like that. And I think that'll still look pretty nice. Do one more to come straight down. And since this edge is kind of round, I think I'll just kind of grab that point just so I can kind of round it off a tiny bit. And maybe I'll do the same for down here. I think something like that would be good. These inside faces I don't need, and same on this side. Get rid of those faces. So if I hide my high poly phone, almost done. I need to mirror this. So back up to mesh mirror. I'm going to mirror on Z. I'm going to uncheck combine only because I'm going to kind of combine these myself. And before I do that, let me go ahead and delete one of them just because they're kind of overlapping each other. I'm going to pull this back a little bit first and then mirror it. And I can combine them. And I'm just going to bridge these two. I think that'll work pretty well. Now I can grab all of this. Actually, these have an opening, so just need to do a quick extrusion and merge to center. Extrude, merge to center. I'm going to go ahead and select all of these, and I'm just going to combine them into one geo, and then move the pivot to center, and then use my mirror again. Let's get it on the other side. This chord looks like the last bit, so just going to extrude and merge to center just to kind of seal it. It's looking pretty good, and I'm just going to add one more kind of cylinder bit. So on this edge, let me turn on my high poly phone so I can see it. It's going to kind of extrude off of this right here. And I'm just going to kind of like manually paste this a little bit. So just kind of like rotate it around and do an extrusion. You can spend more time to make this precise, but I'm just kind of doing it kind of quick. I think it'll be fine. Essentially, we just kind of need to get some amount of overlap and enough faces here. That way, when the bake happens, it'll just have some geo that it can actually adhere to. I turn off my high poly phone. So I think I'll leave it as pretty much just like that. So it's just kind of overlapping into it, and then I'll just delete the face right there. And I'm going to go ahead and create one more cylinder since I don't want to extrude off of that one right there, and just kind of follow the same process. So I think I'll come off of the body first because I think that'll be quicker. Then just like before, it's gonna extrude off of it. I could also choose to kind of use the high poly geo and lower it. It's kind of up to you. Just deciding to extrude off of it because I think it'll be fine. A model like this, you'd never get too close for this kind of like low poly version, which is why you can kind of get away with some detail, kind of like so. And if I go ahead and select all this geometry, freeze transforms, and delete history, and I'm gonna go ahead and group it. And if I have a look at just like that, looks like I missed an arm. So let me do that. And I think that'll be the very last piece. Grab this kind of like so. Just have to translate this upwards. And it looks like there's a slight taper on it. And I actually have one more kind of detail right there. I'm gonna make this with a cylinder again. So in this case, I'm going to snap to one side, kind of get this shape going. Right about there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select half of it and just extrude outwards. So when you take a look at that shape, that's what it gives you. And now we have a low poly phone that matches as close as possible to our high poly.